Isaac Florentine. How are you?
Very good. Good morning, Scott.
Good to have you on the Art of Action, Isaac.
Happy to be here.
You are, in my opinion, the best from the West martial arts filmmaker. And you've done so much for me in my career, discovered me, and we've done many films together. And I've basically learned from you. You've done so many martial arts movies, so much knowledge. And I want to ask you, first of all, if you could tell us what your martial arts background is.
It's Japanese karate. It's mainly Shitoryu style. I started almost 50 years ago in Israel with Kyokushinkai karate. After a couple of years, the instructor left the dojo and went to a different place. Into the dojo came a Japanese instructor. His name was Hiroshi Kurihara. And he taught a combination of Shitoryu, karate, and Shotokan. A few years later, the person that I really see as my teacher, Thomas Weber from Sweden, came to visit Israel, and he came to our dojo, and he changed basically everything. And he was teaching Shukokai, Sankokai, basically Shitoryu karate. At that time, I almost wanted to leave karate, almost wanted to do Muay Thai. If not for Thomas Weber Sensei coming and demonstrating and showing his karate, I would have left karate, but he gave me everything that I wanted in there. It was efficient, it was elegant, there was a variety between hands, feet, and sweeps, and it wasn't about efficiency. And I stayed with him, and I kept on training it until today.
Yeah, I know you still train regularly. What, twice a week? Twice a week at least?
So yes, before COVID, it used to be 4 to 5, but now with COVID, I go to the dojo here in Stuart, Florida. I teach basically voluntarily. I mean, we train with masks, and I'm there usually Tuesday and Thursday. That's my dojo in Israel. Brings memories. This is late 70s, early 80s, basically.
How old there are
you? Tel Aviv. I'm here 27.
Sharp.
That's a bit fast. That's here. That's the dojo in Tel Aviv. By the way, that hall used to belong to the weightlifting that was wiped in Munich by the PLO. They trained there, and when I took the dojo, they renovated it for me. They put that linoleum floor, and it became my dojo. This is 1979 that I opened it.
Yeah, and it's pretty hardcore style. You know, it looks like quite
old style karate, old style, traditional. This is my best friend, Yossi Shechnovitz, who passed away from cancer 10 years ago, sadly. And I grew a beard then because I wanted to look older. Because I was in my early 20s and I said, nobody will come to train under me, I have to look old. That's already in Stuart here. I'm showing, teaching something.
What are you teaching there?
A 2-man drill.
So, lifelong karateka. Is it fair to say that I think you're self-described martial arts geek?
Yeah, I'm a martial arts geek or martial arts bum, whatever you want to call it. Don Warner, our dear friend, calls it a karate bum.
I know you were massively influenced by the same guy that most people are, Bruce Lee.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So the first movie I saw of Bruce Lee was in 1972. Was Fist of Fury, and that day my life changed. I'm sure that everybody had that experience. The movie just arrived. The movie that arrived before to Israel was Five Fingers of Death. I saw it. I didn't like it. I didn't like the martial arts there. It was too violent. It was too jumping in the air. I didn't want to see any martial arts movie.
Wasn't realistic.
No, then Fist of Fury came, and I went to see it only because my sensei, Gidon Kadari, then recommended it. And we did demonstrations in that theater. And I saw the movie and I'll never forget it. It was, wow, I was blown away. And then when I walked home, it's like I was walking on clouds. It was a total new revelation. It was amazing. And I started changing techniques the way that he was doing them, like the sidekick. And I used to come with a pad to the movie theater and write the techniques. But because it's dark, it's a mess. You try to understand what you wrote. So early
You were paying for a fair few tickets for the latest Bruce Lee film then, going again and again.
Exactly. And then I was trying those techniques in the dojo, you know, inspiring.
And what would you say your the most influential directors for you as a filmmaker?
I look at Sergio Leone. For me, everything, all the interest in cinema started when I was young and I went to see an Italian Western. It was Fistful of Dollars. I saw the movie and I was, what the difference in the movie was not even the fact that it was a violent movie. It was the fact that you saw close up of the eyes, you saw close up of the thumb next to the gun. And I remember I sat with my brother. My brother is 8 older than me, and I described it to him, and he was a movie lover. And I asked him, who makes the decision? I mean, there is a decision here. Somebody has to make the decision how to shoot and what to do. And he told me that's a director. And he explained to me what the director does. And I started seeing movies after from a different perspective. And immediately you could see the difference. I love the Westerns. I mean, for me, that was the genre until now that I love most of all. But there was a big difference between the American Westerns and the Italian Westerns. I used to say, who wants to see a John Wayne movie when he's overweight and half of the story goes is being wasted to some kind of a love story to somebody that can be his granddaughter or his daughter, and you wait and wait and wait until there is really the action. And the Italian Western, I didn't know that there were even Italians that were dubbed, didn't speak English.
Yeah.
But they cut to the chase. But there was a difference. And the Italian Western were always very gritty because they were low budget, but I loved it because of their grittiness.
And much more violent, were they, at the time? It's hard for people my generation and onwards to understand the impact that Sergio Leone had, because we grew up seeing those images anyway. But when he first came along, the violence was, I remember hearing that before in a Western, they wouldn't want to show the gun in the same frame as the guy getting shot because it was considered too violent, but Sergio Leone did that.
Like a shot of
Yeah.
the gun in the foreground shooting somebody in the background. He didn't know that and he did it. But
Yeah.
also, and then when the violence came, it was violent. You didn't see the blood gushing, started really in some Peckinpah movies. But Peckinpah, I think, was at that point started to get influenced by the Italians because his movies were also gritty, from Major Dandy to The Wild Bunch. But when the violence came, it was violent. You didn't see it in American movies. There was slugging. American movies, you could see a fight. He's punching, the other one is punching. The Italian, when it was different. So
Yeah.
also, the American movies, the hero always look clean and coiffed and nice. And the Italian movies, you don't know he's the bad guy, you don't know he's the good guy. Everybody is a bad guy. And they always look sweaty,
Yeah.
and dirty and unshaved. And also the lenses that were used were wide lenses. They went tight with wide lenses. And the Americans, no, they stayed back and they shot with more telelense. So it was iconically, it was a total different experience.
You didn't go to film school, did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did. But I remember you put it in your own words, but it was something to do with you taught yourself filmmaking, and so you didn't bother with a master and the coverage because you just wanted to shoot it as you'd seen it on the movies. So you just chose your shots and you shot it sequentially. Can you talk about
Yes,
doing that, and why you did that?
yes. So I loved Westerns, right? I saw Bruce Lee movies. I was then in high school. Suddenly I realized that you can do martial arts movies, that it's a whole subgenre. And with me and a couple of friends, we did a few movies in Super 8, but we had only one role of Super 8. That means you have to do everything with one role. So you cannot, you design exactly what you're going to do. You don't even say roll camera and action. You say first the action, then you're on the camera.
Yeah.
So you shoot what you need. When I came to the States, people work there as you shoot a master and then you cover. And I observe and I said, okay, I understand if you're shooting a dramatic scene, you have to block it. It's good for the actor to shoot some kind of a master, but you cannot shoot a fight as a master. And that's what the way that they used to do also, used to shoot some kind of a master of the fight. And then to go and punch tight. I mean, usually the master was with the doubles. So anyway, it was far away from you and half hidden. And then they used to pop in one punch, he's punching, one punch, the other punching, and the guy is punching. That's not what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the action. I wanted to glorify the action. So my concept was totally different. And plus, if you shoot a master in a fight, you know it and I know it. By the third blow, you're not in your mark. And by the fifth blow, everybody is tired. And by the seventh blow, it looks sloppy. It's a waste of time.
And by the eighth blow, somebody's really been hit.
Yes. So I divided it. I said, let's divide it into sequence, into segments. And the camera will accommodate, because the camera, we compose to the camera. Because we compose to the camera, A, so we don't have to hit, we hide the hit. Two, it's composed to glorify the action. And then you really cut the head and the tail and you put it together. If you do it correctly, it has a good pace and it feels seamless. So that was always the way that I worked. But when I came to the States, it was, you cannot work like this.
I mean, obviously the drama is one thing, and you could do with a
Yes.
warm for that anyway. And you might as well shoot it because there's no one in danger of getting hurt. We're only talking. But for me, I'd done a load of movies in Hong Kong. And so I'd worked doing the Chinese way. And the first proper film that I did after that experience was Special Forces with you. So I was coming into it from the Hong Kong way anyway. And I'm still thinking, well, this is just the way filmmaking's done. And when I was eventually forced to do a fight scene with the master and all the coverage, I was like, what the hell is all this about? Why are we messing around doing all this? We're wasting time throwing stuff on the cutting room floor.
Time and money and people are trying to get the perfect master and you don't even use it, you know.
Farewell Terminator. And you were in it.
In it because there was no choice. There was no choice. Yes, it was shot close to my dojo. There was no choice, and I said I will be that for that fight, that bad guy. I brought all my dojo. These are students of mine, and
but the next one he did was Desert Kickboxer. They named it that, and this was in Israel as well.
Yes, this was shot. We got 16 days to shoot it. That was Menachem Golan. Here, this was shot master and coverage. I mean, kind of, almost. Kind of, you see, it's very choppy, huh? So basically, I told him we got to finish it in 16 days because I don't want that they will say they lied to us, they cheated us. No matter what, we're going to finish. We will finish on time and on budget.
And it sold. That's the most important part.
Sold to HBO. HBO then was it.
Yeah.
He was so happy because they tried to sell HBO a few movies before. It never worked. And he came to me and says, listen, the good news, we sold it to HBO. It's fantastic. The bad news, they're changing the name of the movie to Desert Kickboxer. And I felt like I'm becoming pale. And he said, no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. He said, it's a terrible name. Power Rangers came after that. And the beauty of the series was that I shot every day. And the attitude was go and do whatever you want. If it doesn't work, you can reshoot tomorrow. It never happened that we reshot, but I said, here's an opportunity to use it as a lab. And the lab was really to try, because all I did was to direct. And so Savate was really based on a real character.
Really?
And yes, it was Joseph Charlemont. I was always interested on how those wonderful kicks entered into karate. And I found out that a lot of the kicks actually came from a French fighting art called Savate that was developed in the 17th or 18th and 19th century in France. And one of the main developers, masters of it, or the guy who developed was a guy called Joseph Charlemont. Joseph Charlemont was also taught Alexander Dumas, that wrote The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo. He taught him Savate. But in 1865, he was a French officer that was stationed in Mexico. And there's so many Italian Westerns that were done at Mexico at that time. That's the Juarez Revolution. And I said, wow, here's an opportunity to do a Western. A French hero that is a kicker, and it's a Western, I'm combining two genres that I love. It's not Kung Fu. It's based on a real character. Those kicks, really, you have to understand that the hook kicks that you see in karate, even the high side kicks, they were not in original karate. They came to karate in the 20s from French Savate. Not people are aware of it.
And how was it then working with Olivier Gruner?
So Olivier came from a school of you got to shoot a master.
Well, he hadn't done many films at that point, right? Angel Town was his first one.
Yes. And another movie, he had 2 films. So he was taught.
So he wanted to make it harder for himself.
Yes. And I told him, you are shooting yourself in the leg.
Yeah. That's what he was used to. He thought it was some crazy guy that had it all wrong.
Now, I'll tell you something that happened one day. So you see, he's got a big heart, Olivier. We did a fire scene, and it was Ein Ziering from Beverly Hills 90210, and Olivier taking the animals from the livestock from the burning place. So Olivier took a lamb, and Ein just brought something, and he clacked. He didn't see Olivier, nailed him with a headbutt, broke his nose. Within seconds, Olivier's side, this side, became so swollen. He didn't want to go. We had to finish the night. He didn't want to go to the hospital. We continued. The rest of the scene is all with his profile because that side was not hurt. He's like calm and composed, but this side is like this.
Well, he was a professional kickboxer, wasn't he? And he had a history in the military, didn't he?
Yes. He's a great guy, like totally. After we finish it, okay, now we can go to the hospital.
Yeah, oh, fair play. Good one, Olivier. Brilliant. For me, I just want to hear what it was like for you getting to work with the daughter of Bruce Lee. I mean, that must have been quite a thing.
It was amazing, but actually I worked with her before when we did WMAC Masters, that TV series.
Oh, she was in that?
She was there, yes. I mean, I just told her the influence that her father did, not only on me, on a whole generation, So yeah, it was pretty amazing to work with her, also with Antonio Sabato and Billy Zabka and Scott Schwartz that you see it, and Lachlan Monroe. It was a great experience, It
was more about the gunfights, this movie, though, was it?
Yes, it was about the gunfight, but we had some great stuff and only 20 shooting days, So
Wow. I mean, that's unheard of back then. Now
yeah,
it's normal.
yeah.
And who did the choreography for this?
Koichi, Alpha Stunt.
All right, and it was
And
Koichi.
this is Bridget Riley, that I worked with her in Power Rangers. Look, we put here Tic Tacs in her mouth so it will look like her teeth are flying from the punch.
Oh, I've done that one. That one
Yes,
we did on Ninja 2, didn't we?
that's right. Yes. Here's the punch, here's the
Oh, there you
teeth.
go. Inside
Yes.
secrets.
Beauty was to work with Gary and Brian Genesee. And I decided that the future became a spaghetti Western. And I told it to the company. I said, look, you know, it will be a Western. They told me, yes, we know. When I didn't tell them that it would really look like a Western. When I started shooting it, they freaked out. They said, it looks like a Western. And I told them, yes, guys, I told you it will look like a Western. And they said, but we didn't know that you literally meant that it will look like a Western. I said, but I told you all the times it will look like a Western. So that was...
Apocalyptic Western, but basically it's a Western.
Yes, but we shot it all in the studio. This was the kitchen of the studio. We painted it, we put boxes. Everything was done in the studio. So, I mean, talking about low budget, we used all the studio for everything. The producer again in this was Yoram Barzilai, did a great job.
And this was at the height of Gary's fame, really.
Did a great job. And Koichi came and choreographed. And because Koichi is a lefty, he choreographed everything with the left leg. And we had to change everything because Gary is the right leg. It works for you, not for Gary. You know?
Yeah, it works for me, not for Gary.
Yes. And Koichi learned this lesson from there. Ever since then, he is aware, you know. Dolph wanted to do an action movie. He did a movie before in South Africa. Yoram was the producer. And Yoram told him, look, I have a guy for you that knows how to direct action. I'm going to introduce you to it. But I met Dolph in 1980. I met him because when I trained in Sweden in karate, my teacher's best friend was Dolph's best friend, Håkan Nygren. He was the head of the Swedish karate team. They were both in the Swedish, my teacher and Håkan were in the Swedish karate team, and Dolph was his best friend. This is how we met in 1918. I even went to the Kyokushinkai dojo then to train there for a while. I came to his office and he looks at me and I look familiar. And behind him, there was a big picture of the Swedish team, karate team. I said, oh, this is Brian Fitkin. This is Håkan Nygren. This is, and immediately he knew who I was and the ice totally broke and that's it. Cold Harvest was done because Dolph wanted to get his third dan. He wanted to go to Sweden to train for 6 months. We didn't do that movie. We did Cold Harvest instead, and we did 6 months later, Bridge of Dragons. But I knew that he came in top fit. So I said, I'm going to use his martial arts skill, like to its fullest. I mean, to its fullness. So there is a scene there that he walks in and does a spinning hook kick to Kerry Tagawa. And Kerry was worried. And I told Kerry, he just trained so hard. Believe me, you can put a piece of paper here and he will just tap it if it needs to. He's so accurate. Just do it. And Kerry walked and in slow motion, you see Dolph does a spinning hook kick and he like really stops right here and Kerry basically supposedly nailed it, but not really. So basically, we got so many VHS and they were horrible and I couldn't see them. One day I came and Don tells me, Isaac, I think you should see. I got this guy from England, I think you should see it. And I said, Don, I'm not interested. And Don, very, very polite, said nothing. By the end of the day, I'm about to leave. He says, I still think you should see it. And I said, okay, put it. So he's like, he puts the VHS and I'm sitting like this. And the VHS came and I say, okay, there's some shots of you like what I call hero shots, you know? And I said, okay, the guy looks good.
Getting the physique out, bang.
Yeah, can he move? So now the martial arts, I say, okay, can he do, it's good martial artist, can he do screen fighting? Then come stunts. And I'm looking at the stunts and say, okay, well, who is this guy? Can he act? Then came scenes from BBC and I said, wow, this guy can act.
Yeah.
So I said, what's his phone number? And I'm calling the phone, and I left you, I think it was the middle of the night in England, I left you a message. I took it, I went, I'm going to Boaz. So I'm going to New Image, to Millennium, and I'm going to Boaz. Says, Boaz, you have to see this. Because they used also to send stuff to Millennium. So I'm showing it to Boaz, and Boaz had the same reaction. And Boaz said, you know something? Let's exactly the same reaction. And the minute Boaz saw English accent and BBC says,
yeah, the BBC goes a long way. It doesn't matter that it was one of their cheesiest soap operas, but BBC.
And Boaz learned the cinema in England. You know, he's got the heart in. So basically, he said, let's try him in special forces. Let's tailor a role for him.
What you didn't know, though, Isaac, was on the Jackie Chan film that I'd just done 6 weeks before, I tore my hamstring. And I was desperately just trying to get my hamstring fit for special forces. That's what I was going through.
Yuji and I, and Mick, we knew, and Boaz, we knew we have something special, somebody special. We knew it. So what I did, I said, let's do in the schedule that for that fight, usually can go for 3 or 4 or whatever days that you shot it. And I'm going to do something else. I'm going to leave it to Yuji. And I know you guys will come up with something brilliant, you know? We did the other stuff together, but that was a quick stuff. Here, I wanted it to be like the movie will stop for a second, and like an opera, there will be this big number. Basically,
about 3 or 4 days shooting this.
Yes. And I remember the bad guys. I remember he was in the stunt team, but he had his long hair and he knew it's a military movie, and he said nobody will hire me because of my long hair, and he didn't want to cut his hair. And I remember seeing him moving, and I went to Yuji and said, this guy looks interesting. Can he move? He said, yes, auditioning. And basically, we auditioned and said, wow, here's our bad guy. And then
his hair was better than my hair.
We put the beret on him and he created a character, you know? And I remember when
somebody should have told me to cut my hair.
No, but we wanted you to be a renegade, you know?
Well, I meant to be living out in the woods in secret.
That's why your hair is like this. So basically, at this point, after I remember his wife came to me and says, Isaac, I cannot believe that I didn't understand what you found in my husband. It's like, and he did such a great job, you know? Both acting.
He did an amazing job, this guy. Actually, he would put a lot of pressure on himself. When he didn't get it down on the first take, I would see him give him a lot of pressure on himself. But yeah, brilliant look, brilliant martial artist, fantastic stuntman. He should have done more stuff. Should have seen him in more.
The problem is that after the Millennium didn't do anything in Vilnius.
Well, I was still trying to find my style in that movie, and I hadn't really figured out who I was. So I was trying out sort of different things, posing and all the rest of it. I mean, in the 90s, we did the martial arts films with all the posing and everything.
Yes.
I try to avoid that now, but back then I look at this now and I think, it's all about the posing and everything. Tend not to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Different time as well. I mean, it was way back 2003, wasn't it?
Yes.
When the film came out, I remember I'd come out to Hollywood and you would let me stay at your house and everything. And I remember going to Blockbusters and it was just at the bottom of the shelf, like.
Yeah, it was like all the shelf was full of it, yes.
No, Special Forces. I remember there wasn't much fanfare for it. That's the way I remember it.
Really?
Yeah. I remember feeling like they didn't really push it. I mean, even the poster it didn't have anyone's face on it was because it was part of the American Heroes thing, wasn't it?
Yes.
So
Actually, I don't remember. I
yeah,
think
I remember it coming out and sort of going unnoticed and thinking, oh, that's a shame. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah.
10 more minutes. Are you ready?
They didn't really want me as Boyka, right? They weren't feeling it. And you can't blame them, because you look at me here, or you look at me in Special Forces, and you've got this Yuri Boyka character who's pretty much described as Ivan Drago, Dolph Lundgren in Rocky IV. And you were pushing for me to play the part, but they weren't really feeling it, were they, at New Image?
No, everybody was, nobody wanted it. But you told
Nobody.
You said, Isaac, if I'm going to get a role, I'm going to put my heart and soul into it. And I said, I totally trusted you. I said, I have my faith in you. And I remember everybody was against it, because they say, he's not a tall guy, he's English, he's handsome, how can he play a big Russian monster? And everybody was doubting it. People told me, you're throwing your career away. I'm not mentioning names, okay?
Yeah, well, you must have been worried at times. You must have been times where you thought, oh, am I making a mistake?
Yes and no. I remember, and I was really said, no, I trusted you. I really trusted you. But I was worried, and I said, we have to find out the look. And I told you, don't shave, don't cut your hair. The first thing that I did when I came to Bulgaria, I said, guys, I want you to build me a shoe with a platform of 7.5 centimeters. Remember that shoe?
I'm going to sprain my ankles.
And then
in the snow,
I told them, I want that Boyka will have this fake jacket, and that Michael J. White will have this thin jacket.
Yeah.
So then
Mike was starting to eat just fish and bringing his weight down as the film went on, and he's getting smaller and smaller. And I'm getting bigger and bigger, lifting as much as I can and going nuts.
So here there was an opportunity to work with JJ, and we sat in the airplane and we came with the idea of the ramping and to shoot 88 and to ramp and
88 frames a second. Why 88, Isaac?
Because you can ramp between 22 and 88. So the fast will be a bit faster and the slow will be slow, and you can ramp wherever you want, you know?
So for people that don't know, 24 frames a second is what we're seeing at normal speed, and 22 frames a second would be slightly sped up like they do in the Hong Kong movies to just make it look a little bit quicker, but just a smidge.
Yes.
And then 88 is 22 is divisible by 88.
Yes.
So why 88 frames?
But sometimes we shoot 24, for instance, the boxing sequences, because people move very fast.
Yeah.
You don't need to be choppy, you know? So.
I mean, so do you miss film at all? Or are you absolutely fine?
No, I don't miss film.
Yeah.
It was expensive to shoot. I don't miss film. There is no difference for me between 8mm, 16, 35, or red.
Well, it doesn't end up scratched.
That's right. It's about the way that you tell the story. Yeah, so you can tell the same story whether you wear a pencil or a pen. We screened the movie in LA. You and I, we went to the Millennium office, and there was a producer there that came to visit. And Brian sees me and says, Isaac, I really enjoyed the movie. And you said, yeah, we worked really hard on it. And he's looking at you and says, were you involved in the movie? And you said, with your polite British accent, said, yeah. And I'll give you a cue. I was in the ring, but I'm not black. And then he realized that you're a Boyka, and he was like, wow, you know? Remember that?
Yeah, that's happened a few times. I was with Michael Jai White at one of these Comic-Con martial arts events, and some guy comes up. He's like, oh, Michael Jai White, I loved you. Undisputed 2 is amazing, man. I've seen the movie so many times. And I'm standing right next to Mike, and this guy's fixated on Mike. And Mike eventually goes, you do realize that he's in the movie as well, don't you? And he's like, is he? He says, yeah, that's Boyka. So, oh my God, it's Boyka. What? Happens all the time.
Yes. Talking about the Karate Geek and Karate Man, Michael is it. He also knows all of the spaghetti westerns. So I knew him, of him, because when I did that series in 95, 96, WMAC Masters, he was supposed to be there, but he got the role to play Mike Tyson with George C. Scott. And I saw the way he played Tyson and said, oh my God, he's so good. I met him years later and he was so humble. And I remember when we screened High Voltage, they swapped reel and the audience had to wait about an hour until they put the reels in order. And he was sitting there and, you know, he's one of us. So when Undisputed 2 came about, I told Boaz, I remember, I said, there's only one actor that can play George Chambers. It's Michael J. White. And I called him and he came to a meeting. And basically that was it. It was only one actor could play that character.
What can you tell us about this shot here?
When we ramped the camera, you know, I didn't want to cut. We cut at a certain point because I just didn't want to cut it. This we went with 24 to 88, and luckily
we tried to get it all in one shot, didn't we? I think, but
yes.
Around about here, that's why Mike is, you know, he's showing where the punches are landing, and then he steps to this side so that we can see more. So you see how he's opening up to the camera. This is for people watching at home.
Yes.
And then I think we wanted it all to work, but we couldn't quite get that punch and that punch, so we went for that other angle, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of worked, but it was stacked. We came to the studio to shoot the fight. This was the third week. The crew is tired, and everybody's talking, and the arena is ready, and I saw that everybody is talking, and I said, okay, Scott, can you show them a kick? And Ross was with the camera. I said, no, I don't need a kick. I said, no. Scott, please show them a kick. And you did a flip kick. You flipped in there and did a kick. And everybody turned quiet. Suddenly, everybody realized that this movie will be special. Everybody got that. It was quiet. You know, I'll never forget it.
Yeah, I remember something like that. I remember doing a fight. And I remember JJ coming over to me and highlighting what you've just said and saying, I think people have just realized what we're doing.
It was a fight with Silvio.
Yeah.
We were so excited that you kicked him.
I kicked you in the face, yeah. Good old Silvio.
And we started with...
In my defense, I had just done a somersault. Didn't know where it was.
Right. And we started with this, you know, because we said, let's shoot this first.
Was that at the beginning?
Yeah.
I remember that being at the end.
No, I understand, but we started with it.
Yeah.
So you won't be tired or whatever once we get to it, you know? That's Fumio Dimura. That's Sensei Fumio Dimura that did a cameo in the movie and did a great job, and he brought his student. He helped me a lot. Wow.
This is the guy that basically Mr. Miyagi was based on.
Exactly. One of the most famous karate person in the world, an amazing person.
Is it all shot in one take?
One take. So this is what happened. When we did Undisputed 2, we did the ramping, right?
Yeah.
JJ showed it to 8711. They were prepping to do 300, and basically they liked the idea, and they used the same idea in 300. But in 300, I saw that they did the pop in, pop out. they use a special lens called a crazy horse or wild horse lens that was shot in a movie that was done in the 70s, I think with Gene Hackman and Candice Bergen. It was a Western, but it was about a race. Now, I didn't have that luxury to get that lens. So what I did, I kind of said, theoretically, if I'm going to position two cameras, one on top of the other, I can modify it in the editing room. Shimon Sabach, that is running the studio in Bulgaria, that used to be an amazing key grip, built this for me, like two boxes, and we put the cameras like one on top of the other. And basically, we shot it. Then when we came to editing, it was hard in the beginning to understand how to do it. Irit, the editor, tried again and again and again until she finally got it. And we did a whole dolly here. It's a one shot. It's the whole dolly. No cuts.
Yeah.
Like two cameras. And we went in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah.
Luckily, the rain was not cold. It was warm rain. You know, we made sure because, it's cold in Bulgaria. And we shot it like at 5 in the morning.
I love this bit when he hits the bow and it comes towards the camera.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Brilliant stuff.
I mean, beautiful Taekwondo. And Marco is anything that you want. It's like he can put everything from the drawer, and he's a good actor and it's a fun to be with,
He loves making fights. He really treasures the opportunity. I can moan a little bit, but he just says, no, man, we've got to enjoy this. This is what we do in life. Come on.
And he's 6'4" or 6'5", and he's like, he thinks that he's 5'3". One of the best scenes in the movie is when he comes, when you're training, and he says, you are, what was it? The
champion of the toilets.
Champion of the toilets, yes.
What does that make you when I kick the shit out of you?
Yes. Yeah. It was just brilliant,
The one is like a bit of a holy grail type thing for the action actor. You like to at least attempt it. This is probably the best one I've achieved. I don't know, how long was it? A minute and a half or something?
Yeah, something like this. But also,
I've never been the best with cardiovascular stuff.
But
So I did pretty good.
The one in Ninja 2 was also good. And if you remember, Tal, that was a DP, he didn't shoot so many action movies. He rehearsed it with you. He went to the rehearsal and he knew the movement first, then he did it with the camera. And then...
We there, didn't we? That's the only bit. We missed the gamble there. The block there that you don't see. He throws a kick and block it.
Yes. It's never the perfect shot, Yeah. That's the problem when you're doing running and you don't have the time and you have to finish. And when I read the script, I knew that I want to do it as a oneer because that's why I found a location that will be right for the oneer because the original script, it had a different location. And I said, I want a location that feels like a hotel corridor so we can do, and those rooms so we can do it like a oneer. And we looked and looked and looked, and then I saw this location that was a studio. And I said, I know I can do it here.
If I was being picky, I go over his head too high there.
Yes.
I must have got worried that he wasn't going to duck because I think, he almost forgot to duck.
Yeah. And you did it. Sometimes you think you do it when you think of the safety of the actors. I saw it, but that's what we had. It was what is called low budget blues. That's what we had.
And have you got any advice for people that want to direct a fight sequence? I mean, is there any sort of like rules that you stick by that you could put into
Yes,
words.
yes. Don't confuse the audience, which means think of what is right and what is left. Think of the 180. Think of the geography and have the reference of the geography so people will know who is where. Try to do it in long segments. And the best school to do it, go and watch Singing in the Rain. Donald O'Connor doing Make Them Laugh, Make Them Laugh. See the way that it shot. It shot in sequences. He's doing what he's doing, and he's doing from gag to gag. It's always you see him from his toe to his, his full figure. There is a reference to the geography, and it's basically, it's seamless. You know, it goes from one segment to another. It's the best school to go, and it teaches you how to do a fight scene.
What if you're shooting somebody that isn't necessarily very good at doing the martial arts? Get someone else.
No, you have to see whatever he can and go with him, you know, to modify to what he can, you know.
Yeah.
Please have a good stuntman with him that will make him look good.
Yeah, I guess if it was up to me and I was in your position, I would want him to do as much as he can on his own and modify the martial arts to his capability.
Yes. But I'll just, the last example that I'll give you, for instance, working with Antonio Banderas, that he's not a martial artist, but he sees a choreography and he learns it like this. But he can dance, he can fence, he is experienced. He did all of the fights, everything, including we had to send him to stitches, you know, and it was.
I called that, Isaac, when Tim Mann, who was the choreographer for Acts of Vengeance, he said, "Oh, we're doing it with Antonio Banderas. I'm not sure how he's going to do." I remember saying to Tim, I said, "Mate, I think he's going to be fine, because have you seen what he does in the Zorro? Have you seen the way he wields the gun in Desperado?" I had a feeling that he'd just pick it up, because I don't know if he's got a dance background, but I knew he'd be okay.
He did everything, including there were some jumps in distance. I told him, "You don't have to do it." No, I'll do it. By take 10, he says, "I wish I wouldn't say yes, you know." But he wanted to do everything. It's really a pleasure to work, you know.
He got a real bruise, didn't he? In this,
we had to go to the hospital, you know, and he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go until we finished, you know, but we couldn't. He could have lost his eye, you know.
This is the real black eye.
The real black eye. It looks like terrible makeup, but it's the real black eye, you know. Yeah. We had to hide the bandages, you know. They put makeup over it, you know.
He earned his money that day.
Yeah, every day, you know. Yeah.
Well, Isaac, there's too many films to go over. We can't go over all of them, but you've done amazing stuff, and I just want to take this opportunity.
Scott, the best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come. I hope I'm in it.
You are. That's for us. The best is yet to come.
No, but I need to take this opportunity, Isaac, on my podcast to just say thanks, because I would have kept trying to do this thing I've always wanted to do. It's the only thing I ever wanted to do. So I know I would have continued. But you were the guy that discovered me and gave me my first opportunity, and then gave it me again with Undisputed 2. And we all know what that film did for me, and, you know, and all of us. I might not have the career that I have today if you hadn't stuck up for me in those meetings and said, "No, I want Scott to play Boyka." So I really appreciate everything you've done for me. I mean, I would go to LA and I would stay in your house. I would.
It's like you became one more child, you know, the fifth child.
Exactly.
Yeah, my kids love you, you know that.
Thank you so much for everything you've done for me, and you're one of the best. You're one of the best action directors there is, and I've been very fortunate to have a guy like you on my side, so that we could make the films that we've made.
But Scott, it's a team. It's not. It's a team that makes a movie.
Yeah.
You know, without you, things will not happen. Without you, without people like Marshall or Latif or Ilram or Larnell or JJ, you know, Timan, you know, or Marco. It's just you need a team, or Ross, you know, or Irit. You need a team with you. It's all about the team. We are cogs in one big machine. We are just cogs, you know.
Yeah. Filmmaking is a collaboration for sure. There's no other way around it.
Yes.
It has to be. But yeah, until the next time we work together, I'm waiting and I'm ready.
Scott, thank you so much.